Thank you, Reverend Jeannie, for the beautiful meditation. So our speaker today doesn't need much of an introduction, so there won't be one. Reverend David.
So if I don't need an introduction, I think I'll sit down. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I was thinking during the meditation, is that what was I like when I first came into this chapel? And I know that there's been a few changes that it's made in my life. And that's what I like to talk about today is change. Science tells us that change is constant. So what happens if you don't change your words or your actions or your thoughts? Do you think you're going to stay the same? No, you get better at what you are. And so if you're fearful and you're shameful, you're going to get more shameful and more fearful. I had a plan when I came here. If anything positive happened, it was a mistake. I didn't realize that was a plan. And so that was the first thing I started changing in my thoughts and words and actions, that I am a positive person. Even though inside of me was telling me I wasn't. And through the experiences that I went through prior to coming here, I really realized that I was fortunate to be alive. Because there were some things that have happened in my physical world that there's no explanation of how I got through it. And when I had these ideas, when I was sitting in the development class in 1970, I would get these ideas that didn't make any sense to me. And he said, well, you can do this, what we're doing here, you can give messages. Even though when I first come in here, all the medium says I can give messages. And it took me about 1.5 2 years to figure it out. I said, these people are not too straight. There's no way I can give a message. I go to class and nothing happens. And I didn't think anything was happening. But I did find out that there was something that was happening within me. I found out that I've been giving messages since 1956 when my father hit me in the head with a rag football. And I got these sparklers going like the 4th of July. That's all I saw was them going. And every time I would close my eyes, I would see these sparklers. And I was in a development class, and this is in 1956. In 1971, I'm in a development class here, and I closed my eyes, and people started talking, and all these sparklers started changing. And I told the people what I was saying, and they knew what I was talking about. So here a change took place in 1956, and I didn't realize it until 1971. How many things are you going through that is a change that has taken place, and you're not recognizing it right now? We're at a time where if you feel that you are not successful, or you feel that you are not living up to your potential, it's probably a good idea that you're not. But there's something inside you that says you are living up to your potential. By seeing where you are is a good stepping stone to go from where you are. If you feel you're not living up to your potential, that's a level. And now you've got steps to go further upon that. When I try to remember some of the things that when I first came in here, that one of the people who have been here, that started this chapel in 1960 said, well, there was a medium that come in here and said there's going to be a person from the east that's going to take over this place. And they all looked at me because I come from the east. I said, you guys are really out of your mind, Nothing like that can ever happen. First of all, I don't like to get up and talk to people. And I think that's one of the prerequisites to run a place like this, is to be able to talk to people in front of them and everything. Well, I solved that and everything. And now some people wish I would shut up sometimes. But I found that my words have some value. And if it's only for me, then that's all I tell people when I'm talking to a group or anything like this, I'm just talking to myself. Because I've been in every one of your places. and I know where every one of you are, just as I know where I am and everything. And one of the best things that we have is our memory, because we've all been successful somewhere in our life. Right? I remember one time when I started wrestling, they used to call me Campus Back Miller because I got pinned so much. And then when I won the championship game, and 3 years later, a guy from the opposite team goes, "I never thought that you would wrestle again." Why is that? Because you got beat so bad last year. I just looked at him and smiled, because the person I beat was his teammate and everything. So these little things that I found that I was accomplished to doing and everything like this, I also found, that I was born upside down and backwards. And I always kind of wondered why I did things backwards, and they always worked and everything. And so that's what I started doing. When I started studying religion and everything like this, I said, well, I'm going to turn this around. And it started to work for me okay, And so I found that society and religion isn't always right side up. And so I fit very well in being upside down and backwards. So, and I found that out through the development class. I got to know myself in my development class, and that was in the silence. It's in the silence. To develop your abilities is to be in the silence. And there's only one person that can control that, and that's you. You can read all the books you want on meditation and quiet time, and if you don't apply it into your life and don't apply it your way, you're not going to be successful. And so every time I read something, I said, no, what am I missing? What else is here? That's what I did with the Bible. I would read something and I said, now there's more to it than what I just read. And I would get more to it. When I was taking my philosophy courses, when I was reading about these philosophers, I said, there's more to it than this. And I get this saying, yes, there is more to it. And this is what it is. And I found out that they were talking to me. I didn't dare to go to the professors because they probably have a place here in Arizona for that. So, but the thing that I want to get across here is that your mind is so alive and fertile. Is that don't ever misjudge or mistake the thoughts that you have. There is a way of doing things, and it's your way of doing it. And there's a couple things that we put in there, that you don't want to do anything that's going to be hurtful to yourself or for someone else, or break any natural laws or man's laws, And that last one, man laws, there's a lot of man's laws that are not acceptable to me. And so how do I go about living that? Do I go around breaking those laws? No, I tried very diligently not to break those laws. And so I find something within myself that I can change. Because if I see something in a law that is not acceptable, then there's something inside of me that's not acceptable. And it's usually related to what the action is. And so I start doing the opposite. I start thinking the opposite action. And I don't know what it is. But there is something inside of us called the all-knowing, knows what it is. And it's going to give you an idea on the action that you can do. It may be just walking out another door instead of going out the same door. Or driving down a street and go down to another street. I found a lot of things going down different streets. I found a place to live one time by going down a different street. And there was no reason for me to do that. And I did it, and I found a very nice place. And the person who owned the place was born about 30 miles from me. And he was in Vietnam the same time I was. And we had the same kind of conditions that were going on in our life, And I told him I can't move in until about June, and I won't have a deposit for you until May. And he waited, and I gave him the deposit, and he said, after you gave me the deposit, 4 people wanted that apartment. And by just going off nothing at all. I found another place to live that was convenient for me and everything. So little things like this, mean a tremendous amount of ability within you. Is to listen to those things, no matter how foolish or silly they find, follow through with that. And so, what I'd like to leave with you today is, is that you are an important being. The importance within you is the highest that there's ever going to be. Don't try to compare yourself to anyone. Don't try to get confirmation from anyone. Just go out and do what those ideas are, and you will benefit from that. Bless you.